Hello, my name is Octavious with North American Archery. Thank you so much for tuning into our channel. Today I want to talk to you about the art of traditional bow hunting. Whether you're a seasoned bow hunter or someone just getting into the sport of traditional bow hunting, I believe that this video is for you. I've put together 12 milestones that I use to measure my own artistry in this great sport of ours, and I think it may help you. It's important to understand that as modern times get further along, a lot of people don't even hunt anymore. A lot of people don't see the value of being patient and not getting instant gratification. They would just rather go to the grocery store and get their meat. They would just rather go get a rifle and shoot the animal. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, you have to acquire a certain level of patience and appreciation of the art side of bow hunting in order to be patient enough over the years to stick at it. But not a lot of people don't have the time for that. They have work, they have school, they have family, they have friends, they have other hobbies. I get it. But if you want to be good, if you want to be one of the best at traditional bow hunting, these milestones are going to help you. Number one is decide why you want to trad bow hunt in the first place. Why do you want to go out with a traditional bow when you're bow hunting? Well, for me, to answer the question is that every other weapon became pretty easy the way I was using them to hunt with. And I wanted something a little bit more challenging that required me to study it a little bit more. When I shot a compound, I didn't study archery at all. I was able to go to the bow shop, get a bow sight installed on it, a new rest, get the right release, get it tuned up, get the arrows tuned at the bow shop, practice within 20 to 30 yards, and go out and kill any animal I wanted to kill as long as I practiced a week before the season started. When I got into traditional archery, I had that same approach, right? And all of a sudden, I started to fail a lot more. And it took me several seasons in order to get to the place where I was harvesting animals on a regular basis again. But along the way, I learned more about archery in general. I had to study about FOC. I had to make my own arrows. I had to make my own strings, my own string silencers, play around with different bow weights, understand what being overbowed was. I had to practice at different yardages. I had to learn how to judge yardages. I had to learn how to shoot instinctively. These are things I never had to do with a compound bow or a rifle. And so that is the reason why I got into traditional bow hunting. I wanted the challenge, I wanted to be a more student of archery, and I wanted to be able to have something that tapped into some of the things inside of me that wanted to be better at being an artist, being creative in hunting in general. Number two, stay teachable and become a woodsman. This is something that is lost in today's time of being a woodsman. Being a woodsman is you should be able to read the terrain. You should be able to understand funnels. You should be able to understand hunting a spot, not a particular tree. You should be able to understand what the animal that you're hunting is feeding on, where they like to bed at, what tree they like to climb. There's a lot of different things that go into being a woodsman. Understanding the sunset, where it sets, where it rises. Understanding to carry a compass in your pocket when you're in the woods so you don't get turned around and get lost when it's really, really dark and you're in the middle of the woods and you can't even see the moonlight yet. There's a lot of things, right? But a lot of folks are not focusing on woodsmanship. They are doing a shortcut. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they don't want to learn. However, it still is a shortcut when you just sit over a food plot and shoot animals your entire life. That's fine. But that's not being a woodsman. That is being someone that's hunting an animal over a food plot. A woodsman is somebody that can go into any area and learn the animal's movement, understand how to hunt that animal, and use the terrain, the weather, the thermals, the wind to their advantage to be able to harvest and kill any animal in those woods. That is a woodsman to me when it pertains to traditional bow hunting, and I think it's something that we should tap into and learn from those that came before us. Number 3, learn about the type of animals you want to hunt. This is something that's critical. A lot of people don't even know. Let's just take a deer, for instance. It took me probably 10 years as a bow hunter to really learn what a deer does. And I'm still learning. But people say, well, how do they do this and how do they do that? And I just answer question after question after question with people, and they just look at me like, how do you know that? Well, it's because I had to observe these animals for years without being able to shoot them with my bow. They got really close, maybe within 30 yards, during the rut, before the rut, late season, early season, however you want to say it. I had to watch them on camera. I had to watch them on in the tree stand, in the blind, spot and stalking. Just take the deer, for instance. Like I said, I watched these animals for a decade before I really learned about that animal. And so a lot of people never get to that point because they're shooting them at 100 yards away, 200 yards away. They don't ever learn about that animal. They just know that they come out in that field and they're going to shoot them when they get there. And that's fine. But that's not learning about that particular animal. You know, when you go squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, you got to know about those animals. When you go elk hunting, moose hunting, bear hunting, you got to learn about those animals as well. So whatever animal you're hunting, learn about their habitat, learn about their patterns, learn about what they like to eat, learn about where they want to sleep. These are essential to be successful every single season. Number 4, understand your conservation responsibilities as a hunter. Bag limits, okay, is key. I didn't really read anything when I first started hunting, but when I got into traditional bow hunting, I began to read any state's literature I could. That way, if a DNR officer, a conservation officer, a game warden, whatever it's called in that area of the nation, comes to me, I want to know the law just as much as they do when it comes to the animal that I'm hunting. And I want to know the bag limits. I want to know what I have to do in order to get said animal. Like right now, I just shot a doe, and now I've earned a buck in what's called a deer reduction zone. A lot of people would probably go to that deer reduction zone and just shoot a buck. That's incorrect. You got to shoot the doe first, and then you earn the buck, because I've already got a tag on the buck that I shot early in October. So now I got another buck for the state of Indiana, right? So all I've had to do is understand the bag limits and understand what conservation that the state of Indiana was looking for in the deer reduction zone. So managing the herds, understanding that we have a responsibility to keep deer off the road and in front of cars and hurting people and killing people and damaging property, damaging crops. That's just one way to do conservation as it pertains to deer. But all the animals need to have either less of a bag limit or more of a bag limit depending on the species that you're hunting. So understanding that as a hunter is key. Number 5, approach the animal downwind and learn thermals. For years, guys, I would hunt animals and I didn't care what the wind was. I would just walk into the woods and look for a deer. Spook all the deer out with a traditional bow. You got to approach downwind if you're going to spot and stalk a bedding area. Or I would set a tree stand and said, yep, I got all these trails coming together. One of these trails, the wind would be right. Sometimes it works, but other times it doesn't. And you get frustrated when the deer comes in front of you and he smells the air or she smells the air and you don't get him. It's key. You know, all animals, bear, moose, elk, deer, whatever you're hunting, mountain goats, use the air to their advantage. Use the wind to their advantage. So you have to be downwind and understand that that's key. Thermals, rising and falling of thermals. Understanding when it gets hot, the thermals rise. When it gets cold, thermals fall. Sometimes you hunt an area, right? This is about back to being a woodsman. You want to go in late morning. You don't want to go in early morning because you know that it's so cold in the morning that the thermals are going to be just in the bottom of that valley or whatever you're hunting in that bottom. And so you want to go in about 8 or 9 o'clock and go in a different way. You're using those thermals to your advantage, so when the deer come in from the field, you're up in the tree, but you're not have your scent in there at all because the sun's already out and you're ready to go. And before they know it, your thermals are so high up on top of that ridge that you're shooting down on them with a traditional bow. They never can smell you, versus walking through the entire bottom or valley and getting up on top of that ridge, your scent's in there when they walk through the woods. You want to go around that, go and sit up in your tree stand on top of that ridge, and the thermals are already up to a certain point. When they walk through at their vantage point, they're not going to smell you. Using the wind and the thermals to your advantage is key. Number 6, learn how to bow hunt as close as you can to the animals. This goes without saying, but still, as a traditional bow hunter, I have to remind myself that I want to shoot animals within 10 to 15 yards. I've made a couple shots in my bow hunting career that's for 20 to 25 yards, sure. But for the most part, I try to get as close as I can to that animal, and that goes back to woodsmanship, and it goes back to being in a situation where your wind and the thermals are in your favor, where you can get right on top of that bedding area, where you get right on top of when they're coming in the woods, and you don't have to be concerned about being too far away. When I first started to do it, I was setting up like a compound or a rifle guy, and I was like 40, 50 yards away. That's not going to happen anymore because I know that I can't get a shot 40, 50 yards with a longbow or recurve. So why even set up that way? Make sure you set up as close as possible to the animal you want to hunt, and it's going to boost your success. I would say try to get it 15 yards or less. If you get out to 20 yards, make sure your grouping is right and you understand your sight pitch and your sight window in order to make those shots at any elevation or any plane. Number 7, manage your scent. You can't completely mask it. There's so many products on the market telling us as traditional bow hunters that you can mask your scent. You cannot mask your scent. You can reduce your scent, but you can never mask it. I don't care if you have a contraption up in the tree that takes your scent away. I'm not gonna name any brands, but we all know it straps to the tree. You turn it on, no scent at all, right? You put all the scent spray on, you got the clothing on, all these things. If you're standing 10 yards from a buck and the wind's blowing towards him, he's gonna smell you. Period, end of story. So you wanna approach the animal downwind. The other thing is that you wanna make sure that when you enter into an area, you enter in one way. You don't zigzag and do all this stuff. You've already done your scouting. You already know the terrain. You already know what's going on. If you know that the deer that you're hunting, or the bear that you're hunting, or the elk or the moose that you're hunting is over there, and you hear them, you can see them, sometimes you can smell them, go in one direction. That way when they cross your path to that tree stand or that blind or that hilltop that you're hunting, that they cross your scent, they can smell you. That's it. They're not smelling you all in those woods or all in that valley. That is managing your scent, being downwind of the animal and understanding the trails that you walk on is putting scent in that area. That is the number one thing. Everything else can be important, but me personally, guys, I've never got into the scent sprays and the scent clothes and all the contraptions, because I know that the old school guys before us, and Fred Bear, Howard Hill, Art Young, and others, they didn't have all the special gadgets and all the special sprays and all the special literature. They did what I'm telling you. They managed their scent in the woods or the area that they're hunting, and they made sure they were downwind of any animal as well. That is managing your scent, not trying to mask it and taking a shortcut. Then number 8, practice shooting all year, not just when you are about to hunt. You got to practice with this bow all year long. This is a long bow, guys, a long bow. And if I go out and I only shoot it right before I go hunting, I'm going to fail. You got to shoot all year. Every single month, you need to get shots up, especially if you're hunting big game animals. You got to make sure that you make critical and ethical shots on them, and you got to practice to put yourself in a situation to be successful. But a lot of times we don't have the time, so that's why sometimes we take another weapon. That's fine. But if you want to be an artist in traditional bow hunting and be able to be successful, you have to practice all year long and hunt animals all year long. Go on a hog hunt, go squirrel hunting, go rabbit hunting, go turkey hunting. Some of us only deer hunt, okay? Go elk hunting, moose hunting, bear hunting. Try to hunt other animals and save the money to go do those things. Small game hunting practice is easy to do because your license is, $15 to $30 depending on the state, and you're able to go out and shoot rabbits and squirrels with flu arrows. It's fantastic, okay? It gets you to be better on a live animal. Practicing all year is key in order to be the best you can be in traditional archery. Hello guys, I'm here editing the video and I forgot a step, number 9. Learn to be patient and to be able to calm your nerves. You have to calm your nerves as a traditional bow hunter. The pressure sometimes is extremely high, but if you can focus on what's most important, which is making a clean and ethical shot, you'll be just fine. Don't focus on the rack, don't focus on the body size, don't focus on what you're gonna do with it on Instagram or how good the video even is going to be. Focus on the actual shot, calm your nerves, take a couple deep breaths, and execute the shot. I think sometimes our nerves get high because we're afraid to miss and we're afraid to fail again. Or we get so excited because that big buck that we had on camera is finally in front of us. Block all that out and focus on making the shot count. That is so critical. Make sure you do it. Then number 10 is obtain a repeatable shot process and focus on the spot. When you're hunting, if you want to understand how to be a better traditional bow hunter, you have to be able to remain focused. And you have to have a repeatable shot process and a spot to focus on. If you've practiced all year and you have a repeatable shot process, that becomes muscle memory. Now all you got to do when it matters the most is focus on that spot you want to shoot and shoot it. Because I've shot at the whole animal and missed them. I have shot animals in the hind leg. I've shot animals in the neck. I've shot animals all over the place because I've sat all day in the cold, and when the moment arrived, I didn't focus on the spot. I looked at the whole animal. So focusing on the spot is critical, and you have to make sure that you focus on what you want to hit on those vitals, and you put it right behind the shoulder or wherever you want to shoot to make sure they go down. So that repeatable shot process throughout the year and focusing on the spot when it matters the most is key. Then you got number 11. After the shot, pay attention to the direction the animal is going. So many times I've shot an animal and had a very bad blood trail. I just had one. It took me 400 yards to find this doe, mature doe that I shot a week ago. And I hit her in the lungs, but before it went to the second lung, it got caught up on her rib cage, and the arrow came in and went like this to the left and in the diagonal, and it went down through her belly. So I only got one lung, and it got through her guts. Never had a shot like that in my life, but I paid attention on the direction that she went. And as I tracked her, I had a little bit of blood in 50-yard increments. But I followed her trail. I followed her tracks. I went across the road. I got permission from the other people hunting in the other area of the woods with guns, so I needed to make sure that they were done. And I went through it, and we found her at 40 yards. You got to pay attention to what direction she's going. You got to pay attention to what animal that you're shooting and what they like to do, their patterns, where their trails are at. So when I paid attention to that and knew that she was going northwest, I knew, or southwest, I knew that I need to head that direction. There's no need to try to look to the left or the right too much, because she took off very fast with that arrow still in her, almost through her, but not completely a pass through. And I knew that I needed to continue to track her as far as possible on the main trail. So guys, that's so critical to understand the direction that the animal is going and pay attention to what happens after the shot as a traditional bow hunter. And number 12, every legal animal is a trophy. Don't get caught up on the size. Every legal animal is a trophy. Don't get caught up on the size. And a lot of folks do. I usually shoot one small buck, and then I try to get a bigger buck every year if possible. However, sometimes I don't have the patience to wait. I will shoot the buck that comes in front of the stand, the doe, because I believe that God provided that animal for me. And I keep referencing deer season because we're in the season right now. It's November currently at the time of this video. And so I just want to make sure that you understand that as a traditional bow hunter, every animal, every legal animal you take is a trophy. Every doe, every buck, every bear, every squirrel, every rabbit, every elk, every moose. Don't get caught up in everything else everybody else is doing. You're never probably going to get a deer the size of a guy sitting in a pillbox with a high-powered rifle. How do I know that? When I go to deer camp and guys got, high-powered rifles shooting 300 and 400 yards away through all this terrain, and I'm over here trying to get 20 yards away and closer, they're getting bigger deer than me most of the time. The only time I've ever beat them is when I really got a bead on a dominant deer, a dominant buck, and I'm able to go out and find them. And I already had a spotting, he's already been on camera. Then I have the advantage. I'm not waiting for them to come out into the opening. I'm already on top of them in their bedding. And that's what is rewarding for me, is when I'm able to go and get it done the old-fashioned way. But don't compare the size of your deer or the size of your animal that you're hunting to everybody else. Have personal goals and understand the reason why you're going traditional bow hunting in the first place. You're not going to get caught up in the size, because at the end of the day, it's meat in the freezer, and it's a wonderful adventure to be a traditional bow hunter. So I appreciate everything you guys do. I thank you for your likes, your subscriptions. Continue to turn on your post notifications. And I want you to remember this: you don't have to get ready when you stay ready. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later.